Hi, I'm Barclay Knapp, and I'll be your host for episode 1 of the Origins of Junior Farmers in Ontario. In January and February 1914, what turned out to be the very first Junior Farmer Club took place here at what used to be the Orange Hall in Woodbridge, Ontario, York County. It was the third annual short course for agriculture put on by the Department of Agriculture. We don't know the exact dates, but we do know what happened between January and February.
Before we begin, let's get some questions answered about junior farmers.
In 1907, the concept of agricultural extension was an idea that the Deputy Minister of Agriculture had, and he tested it, tried it, experimental basis in 6 counties in Ontario, hired a young graduate from the Ontario Agricultural College in Guelph, hired 6 of them, one for each of 6 counties, and that person set up an office in the county. Most of them, to start with, were looking at being part of the school system, and so their offices was probably somehow associated with the local high school. In 1909, the agricultural or district representatives, as they were called then, later agricultural representatives, came to realize that probably the easiest way to get to influence farmers was through their kids. And so one of the projects that started in 1909 was a school fair program. And kids in the rural schools, public schools, were provided with some seed, vegetable seeds probably, and some good seeds. In the spring, they were to look after them during the summer, and then in the fall, after they came back to school, there would be a fair, and they were to bring some samples of what they had produced from those seeds to the fair. School fairs continued for many years. Officially, they ended, I'm not sure when, 1930s or 40s, somewhere in there. But in some counties, they carried on way on into the 1960s. In 1914, early 1914, the 4 ag reps went a step further in conducting short courses in agriculture for young farmers, and that was male farmers in those days. The short courses lasted for several weeks in the wintertime at a local hall or place where it was a good room, warm enough, and so forth, and was effective. My understanding is they were daytime sessions, so the young lads could be home for chores in the morning and chores at night, and spent the day at the short courses. And yeah, they were about six weeks in length.
Why did they start a short course when the Department of Agriculture first started in 1907? The first six district men were half half of the time the secondary school, and then half as assistant rep. They in becoming established, they found it was easy to work with young people. And maybe the farmers that didn't want to have anything to do with something new themselves, they would go to all ends to do something that that would help their children. And so they started the school fairs and the short courses.
At the end of the short course, the guys that had participated thought that it was such a great idea having this short course. They became friends with each other. They thought they would like to continue to have some kind of contact, educational contact as well as social contact. And so junior farmer improvement clubs became the norm after the short course on an experimental basis for the first year or two, and were so successful very quickly that concept of short courses and then into a junior farmer club was so successful that it was copied across many of the counties in Ontario. And by that point in time, 1915, in there, many of the counties in Ontario already had an agricultural representative working for the ministry, but working with the local farmers in the community, and developing farm organizations for farmers, and as well as the junior farmers. Things like weed identification, disease identification, insect identification, and like how can you do things with those, with knowing what the weeds were and how they grow, how they act, helps you control them. Understanding soil would probably be an important part of the course. Like soil isn't just dirt that's there. You've got 6 inches of topsoil and then subsoil and so forth. Like there's soil is a very live commodity, full of life that we don't recognize just by looking at a handful of dirt or soil.
Well, the short courses they started around 1912. 1912 or 13. At that time, in Peel County, as an example, they had about the course in Peel that year started January and run through, and they had about 30 young people, farm young people, from some from every township in the county. In 1913, the assistant, the deputy minister of agriculture, C.F. Bailey, was very, very, very happy about the success of these short courses that had been held in several counties in Ontario. And he said that this would be a shame to get these young people and bring them together for a month and get them all geared up and so on, and then let them drift. And so he made the recommendation that for the short courses from then on, that the person in charge should form a junior farmer improvement association, and that was in 1913. And so in 1914, there were four counties that formed junior farmer improvement associations. Some of them might have just for 1 year. know that in Peel County they continued on for succeeding years.
That's all the questions I have. Most of what is known about the history of the beginnings of junior farmers in York County comes from publications such as the Story of Agriculture Extension Ontario from 1991, the first provincial junior farmers handbook from the mid-1940s, and the history book A Rural Legacy from 1982. York County was important for agriculture in Ontario as it included the province's largest city and its borders. Woodbridge in Vaughan Township was most likely chosen to host a short course in agriculture as it was the home of the Member of Parliament for the north part of York County. There was a major railway line running through it. It was on the Humber River that flowed into Toronto, and it had its own fair since 1847. There was also a mill in nearby Pine Grove, making Woodbridge a major town for the area. Despite this, Woodbridge did not have its own high school in 1914. As there were no area high schools, the closest being in Weston, it is speculated that the short course in 1914 was held at the Orange Hall on Wallace Street in Woodbridge. No known records exist on the short course, but the Orange Hall was a well-used facility for public functions. In January 1915, the Ontario Department of Agriculture hosted a gathering of area farmers in the Orange Hall, so there is precedence that the Department of Agriculture made use of the hall. The hall, which was built in 1875, was damaged by fire in 1973, survived as a one-story building, then was demolished in 1994. One of the factors in the creation of junior farmers was the ag rep or district rep as they were known at the time. John Charles Steckley of Bessada was York's second ag rep starting in November 1911. He graduated at the Ontario Agricultural College in Guelph in 1906 with an associate diploma, and then in 1911 with a Bachelor of Science. He was known to be very knowledgeable in livestock. After losing his position due to provincial politics, he returned to the Ontario Agricultural College in 1922. He was later named as the Ag Rep in Brant County in 1934. In 1937, he became director of the Western Ontario Experimental Farm, which he worked to develop into Ridgetown College. A residence building was named after him at the college. Also, he is listed as being a contributor to the development of hybrid corn in Ontario. With his accomplishments, it would be interesting to know how much of the creation of junior farmers out of the short courses in agriculture was due to his work. In 1989, J.C. Steckley was inducted into the Kent Agricultural Hall of Fame. The short course that developed into the very first Junior Farmers Club was known to have started in January and must have finished before the short courses in Durham and Peel counties that occurred at the same time. No known records from 1914 exist about the course, but it is known that there were short courses held in 1912 and 1913 in Newmarket, where J.C. Steckley had his office. An ad in the Express Herald has a 1914 short course also happening in Newmarket in January. It is not known if the location changed or if this was a different short course. A photo collected by the Junior Farmer Archiving Committee had written on the back that it was from a 1914 short course in York County. Unfortunately, no professional historian contacted has been able to verify the building or the year. But if it is the class that became the first Junior Farmers Improvement Association, then it is a photo to be treasured. It is known that Joe Farr of Thistletown was elected president and Joe Snyder of Elia was elected secretary.
Thank you for watching episode 1 of the Origins of Junior Farmers and staying with us for this history lesson in York County. We hope that you can enjoy the little videos that we're putting out for you about the history of junior farmers, and you'll stay tuned for the rest of the series.